Hey guys, and welcome to Tech and More Tech. Today we're going to take a look at the iPhone XS Max. I'm going to go through all the design and features of the phone, and at the end I'll tell you if it's worth buying or not. And if you want the more detailed written review, check out the link in the below or go to techmoretech.com. For the past 9 years, Apple has stuck to its product cycle, which makes it really easy to know which year is going to be a big upgrade for the iPhone and which year is going to be a refinement for the iPhone. This year is a refinement year. Last year, Apple released the iPhone X, which introduced radical changes to the iPhone. They reduced the bezels all around, and the iconic home button and Touch ID were removed and replaced in favor of more screen and Face ID. This further ingrained gestures as a fundamental way of interacting with your iPhone. In past years, the S-Cycle phone has always had some feature that would make it distinct from its predecessor. This year with the XS, we've really only gotten the larger form factor with the XS Max. Aside from that, the X and the XS are largely the same, save for the processor and camera updates. Apple's latest iteration of their custom processor is called the A12 Bionic, and they only presented it as 15% faster than the outgoing A11. Their custom GPU, though, is said to be 50% faster than the outgoing one, so all you Fortnite players and mobile gamers can rejoice. The biggest upgrade actually comes to what they call their neural engine. This is the part of the processor that basically does all the machine learning in your phone. It's hard to quantify exactly what kind of impact this will have, but hopefully it'll give us smarter Siri suggestions and stuff like that. The other aspect of the phone that's been updated is the camera, as it is every year. The iPhone XS has 3 cameras, a dual camera array in the back, and one single camera up front. On the back there's a wide-angle lens paired with a telephoto lens. Telephoto lens is the same as before, but the wide-angle lens sensor has been updated, and you'll primarily see these effects in low-light situations, where previous iPhones have struggled. Apple's done a lot to improve the HDR capabilities of their cameras. These are scenarios where when you're taking a picture of something, it's facing away from the light. Usually this results in a very bright background and a very dark subject. This is primarily combated with software, where it will take several photos with a combination of low and high exposure, and then sort of stitch them all together and give you the photo that you wanted to get. They've extended the same philosophy and approach into when you're taking pictures of moving subjects and in video as well. Portrait mode was introduced a few years back with the 7 Plus, and basically what it allowed you to do was take a picture of someone and then have the background be blurry, giving a so-called bokeh effect. This year with the iPhone XS, they've introduced another addition to the portrait mode, which is adaptive depth of field, which basically lets you adjust the blurriness of the background after you've taken the photo. I've mentioned before that I'm not an expert in photography, so the best I'm going to do is take a bunch of photos with an iPhone X and a XS Max, and then play them now so that you can compare for yourselves. I try to make the photos as identical as possible, and I try to take them in a variety of situations with low light, lots of light. So like I mentioned, there's not a lot of updates with the iPhone XS. The camera and the processor are kind of the big ones. There are of course some minor things like a louder speaker, a little bit better battery, and a new gold finish as well. But let's backtrack to what I think Apple considers the actual upgrade for this year, and that's the supersized iPhone XS Max, which is a ridiculous name. It's about the same physical size as the previous plus-size phones, except there's no more pesky bezels, it's all just one big screen, except for the notch. Very plainly, this is a big phone. I've got somewhat large hands, and for me personally, the form factor of an iPhone X is about the limit of one-handed use. From the introduction of the plus-size phones, I've always considered them to be two-handed devices. Even with functions like reachability, there's no way you can use these phones exclusively with one hand. If we adopt that philosophy, the iPhone XS Max isn't an unwieldy beast anymore, but instead a perfectly sized slab of glass and metal. The OLED screen on it is gorgeous, as it is on the XS. They both have the same rounded corners, the same notch, and the same 458 ppi pixel density. However, despite the XS Max being almost 1 inch larger diagonally in screen size, they both show the exact same amount of information on the screen at any given time. So if you're just scrolling through Reddit or Twitter or Safari, you're not going to see any more information. You're going to see the same amount, just a little bit bigger. There are a few applications like mail and messages that take advantage of the split view in landscape orientation. However, they don't offer that much extra value. The iPhone X last year introduced a new design philosophy, but with it, it also came with a new pricing and branding philosophy. I say branding because the XS and the XS Max aren't the only phones Apple announced this year. Apple has always kept previous year's phones at a cheaper price as their mid-range phone. But this year Apple introduced a cheaper iPhone XR and got rid of the iPhone X altogether. The iPhone X somewhat controversially also had a $1,000 price tag, which some people thought was outrageous. Nevertheless, it didn't stop Apple from selling tons of them. The iPhone XS starts at the same $1,000 price point, and the XS Max starts at $1,100. In fact, you can configure the iPhone XS Max with 512 gigs of storage and it'll set you back almost $1,500. And so that brings us to the golden question. Should you buy this? It's rare that my answer is an unequivocal yes or no, and today is no different. If you have an iPhone X and you're not fiending for the larger size, then feel free to keep your iPhone X for another year without the fear of missing out on anything. If you held out on the iPhone X because you wanted to see how the OLED screen would do and generally aren't an early adopter, you can upgrade to the iPhone XS knowing that this phone will be rock solid for years to come. If you simply think that spending $1,000 on a phone is pure insanity, don't worry. The iPhone XR is coming out at the end of October, and that might be the right option for you. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below and I will get to them as best I can. If you liked the video, hit that like and subscribe button for plenty more videos to come. Until next time, see ya.